Oh, there you are. Hi, guys. Well, this is the second time now for me to record this. Happy Samhain, you guys. Happy Halloween. I love this time of the year. It is my most favorite time of the year, as it is for most of us wild witches. And I had to write this book, Candlelight Cobwebs. And it all just started with a black cat and the love of the Halloween season and the fall. And so this book takes place during that time of the year. And there's some Halloween Samhain ritual that goes on in here. But I'm going to quickly read the description of this book before I read my scary chapter that I had so much fun writing. And so quickly I'll read the book description just to give you an idea of what the book is about. Curses are real. Rosalind never thought about ancestral curses until she inherited an estate called Winter Haven in the mountains of Colorado from a family she never knew she had. Upon entering this sprawling estate, she is hit with visions, deja vu, and plenty of bumps in the night. She soon finds her new home is inhabited by a gift-bearing raven, an extremely large black cat, and a talking skull. Through the candlelight cobwebs, she finds her great-grandmother's diary, a book of shadows that takes her back to 1918 and a time of heightened interest in archaeology, spiritualism, and secret societies. Learning of her great-grandmother's previous life as an oracle of Delphi, Rosalind takes yet another step back in time to the ancient Greece of Alexander the Great, finding a time of misogyny, sexual freedom, and the continual political binding and dissolution of goddess worship. Follow along with Rosalind as she is taken through the forbidden history of her lost past and discovers curses, the occult, mystery, and a love story that transcends time and mortality. And so here's the very interesting big black cat hint. This is a paranormal story, guys. Much more than just ghosts and bumps in the night. All right, when you think of paranormal today, what do you think of? So to set the pace for the story that I'm going to read you, and that was, lost my page here, which I do a lot. Sorry guys, 17, here we go. Okay, so to set the pace for this story, Rosalind is in her huge mansion. She's feeling alone. She finds out that she is a witch. And then she meets a couple of witches in her area. And through these couple of witches, she meets a man. He's gay. I call my gay Indiana Jones, who's looking for a place to live. Well, her being alone, she says, yes, come live with me. His name is Baylor Jameson. He is the coolest, the most fun guy. He's an archaeologist. He loves to write. He's an artist. And so he moved in with her while his place is being renovated. But Baylor, being an archaeologist, is really enamored by the ancient ruin that is next door to them. It's the Manchester mansion that burnt down back in 1918. But there's a connection to Rosalind, her estate, and Manchester Mansion. Rosalind makes Baylor promise, because there's just too much strange stuff going on over there, to stay away from this ruin. Well, Baylor, being the guy that he is, he ends up over there anyways. And so but he ends up meeting something very, very interesting. And this was such a fun chapter to write. And this book is really a fast read because there's so much going on. There's like 3 different timelines, 3 different stories going on in this book. We go back to the oracles of Delphi. We go to 1918, which is a lot of fun because we get into spiritualism and we get into the secret societies and really why did they have them and what did they do back then and what did it have to do with women. And so Baylor had to go over there. And so I'm going to read. It's not a very long scene. It's a couple pages. And I think you guys will really enjoy it because it's just kind of fun. It's kind of makes you laugh a little bit. But, you know, in lieu of this holiday, I thought this would be a perfect chapter to read to you guys so you could get used to the wild witch who writes. Okay, here we go. The 10-foot gate had seen better days. The once black iron had aged to a rusty patina. The driveway was a challenge. Baylor could barely guess where it once was, as aspens and assortment of native grasses closed it in completely. He parked as close as he could, trying hard to avoid scratching the black metallic paint on the side panels and fenders of his truck. An old real estate sign lay beneath the grasses. He figured either the realtor had forgotten about this place, or just maybe the realtor had a chance meeting with the original homeowner. The latter of the two brought a slight curve to his lips. His second impression of the mansion was that it looked like a half-decomposed dinosaur. No, better yet, a dragon, and a very large dragon at that. The usual turret, still intact, jutted enormously from the bowels of the beast. His mood suddenly changed to melancholy as his eyes traveled the expanse of the once grandiose and magnificent piece of real estate. What it must have looked like in its heyday. The music echoing out of its ballroom, the manicured lawns and high society guests coming and going in expensive motor cars or even horse-drawn carriages. He suddenly stopped. A little voice in his head said, "Why in the hell did you come here?" He couldn't answer for the life of him. Maybe it had something to do with archaeology. He lived for ruins, though this was a little different. This ruin dared to be explored. He felt it just as much as Rosalind, but unlike her, he could not stay away. He took a few tentative steps, stroking his goatee, his eyes keen for any slight movement. 2 more steps and he was at the door. He pushed aside more of the dragon bones and stepped inside. "Hello?" Shit, like Annie was going to answer. Bits of debris crunched loudly beneath his boots, almost too loud. The grand staircase rose and wound up within the ribcage of the dragon house like a long spine. The former luster of highly polished wood was now weathered, a dull combination of char and sunrot. The sun at 9,000 feet relentlessly strips a protective outer layer of anything it lays its penetrating rays upon. "Candy Graham!" he yelled out with a laugh, slowly inching his way under the spine, then drove a long hallway, then down the long hallway. The solidness of the floor suddenly felt not too solid, and before he could turn around, he heard the sound of breaking boards, and then of himself screeching as he descended. Rotted planks followed him as he grappled for anything to slow his fall. Pain shot up his arm as his palm sliced open on an exposed spike in one of the timbers. It diverted some of the pain of impact. His legs crumpled, and he sat hard, his teeth clamping shut on his tongue. "Son of a bitch!" he lisped, his tongue throbbing in unison with his hand. Unsure what to do, and settled on holding it to his pale blue, meticulously laundered sports shirt. Shit, this was my favorite. The shirt did nothing for the throb. Trying his best to ignore it, he stood to check his surroundings. It was hard to distinguish where he was. Maybe some antechamber? It was a huge house, probably full of secret rooms and tunnels. He wouldn't have been a bit surprised if there was even an underground tunnel leading all the way to Winter Haven. God only knew what went on way up here in these mountains, and especially at the turn of the 20th century. Looks like the beginning to some tunnel. Most of it was blocked off by the remnants of upper floors, though. The archaeologist in him drew him closer. He pulled at rotted boards, forgetting they might just be holding up what was left above him. He heard a loud creak above and froze, stilling his breath. The creak grew louder, then stopped. His hackles stood in warning. He inched toward the opening in the floor. Then, there it was. Not upstairs like he had thought, but right in his face. Shit! He flung himself backwards, tripping and landing on the ground, his erratic heartbeat quickening his breath. He scrambled backwards away from it, scolding himself for leaving his Glock semi-attic in his glove compartment. Then he thought, what the hell good would that do against this? Funny what you think about when you're about to be either torn limb from limb or possessed. Because this was not your typical gray lady studying him with penetrating and calculating, well, almost eyes. It wasn't fully materialized. Looked like it was, well, stuck between dimensions. Time was passing. No, fleeting, and yet he was still here, thinking stupid-ass thoughts. Maybe if I try to communicate, another stupid-ass thought. He slowly stood. It did nothing. He held out his hands to show he meant no harm. Still nothing. It wavered between his world and wherever the hell it came from. He was positive that this was not a gray lady, for they are residual. You cannot interact. They are just moments in time that keep repeating over and over, caught in some time vortex until it finally runs out. No, this was much more. He could actually feel the warmth of its breath on him. It was now that close. So he did what most polite gay men do when in confrontation. He stuck out his hand, the one that was not bleeding, and said, "Hi, I'm Baylor Jameson, your new neighbor." Then it did the strangest thing. It smiled back at him and tilted its head back and let loose a long, loud laugh. The laugh reverberated throughout the ruins, shaking loose timbers and boards. What is so damn funny? That I'm trespassing? He thought, watching the entity decide on the third dimension and fully materialize to his amazement. It took a step closer and shoved its hand out. "Pleased to meet you, old chap. I'm Hamlin Manchester. Welcome to my home." Shit, fuck, shit. All right, you guys. That is my chapter in this book. There's quite a few ghosty, mysterious, scary, witchy chapters in here. There's even a Samhain ritual in here that, of course, includes the talking skull and the raven. And so this book is a whole lot of fun for this time of the year. I wish I would have done this sooner. But if you guys like to read, hey, check this book out. It's the first of its series. I haven't yet started the second book, sorry. But it's a whole lot of fun. It's a real fast read. Like I said, there's something constantly going and a lot of mystery. So thanks for listening, you guys. Happy Samhain. Go out and do something fun, and blessed be.